Namaste, namaste indeed. It is such a joy to be here. The energy is so different when you settle into the sun and the little jungle here and all of the beautiful energy, and it makes you want to just sink into the divine and take a nap. Both. It's been beautiful. I feel well rested and just so enriched. So I'm so grateful once again for the invitation and all the wonderful care here from everybody. So we're going to continue tonight with the series that we started last night on inciting the vibrant spirit of divine being. We had a workshop today for 90 minutes, which was lovely, absolutely wonderful, focusing on self-acceptance and the vibrancy that we begin to create in our being as we literally allow in more light through acceptance of all aspects of our being, including the small self, the self that believes it's separate from our source, our creator, God, and all of the things that we've worked so hard and so long to try to overcome or reject or conquer or do away with. And when we switch that flow around and begin to invite in ever more of our wholeness, all of the aspects of our being, what we're doing is letting in more light. The wholeness of all the light we are, the light that we know is light, and the light that forgot it is light. So it was a beautiful workshop. And tonight, unlike last night here in the satsang, I am going to channel, and I'm very excited about that. I always get to be a witness to this, so it's such a joy. And what they want to talk about, my guides want to talk about here tonight, another aspect of inciting this vibrancy of our being, is playfulness. Divine playfulness. Because it is long lost in our memory that this is part of our nature. It is an inherent part of our being. Last night I talked about the experience of having the experience of being in that primordial God space and the realization of that God, the nature of God, is this cherishing awareness. And cherishing in and of itself is a joyful, exquisitely joyful energy. Playful, kind of ornery sometimes. It's so embracing. And you know this. When we have any joyful moment, we feel so open. We feel so light. That's because we're aligned with our nature, with the truth of our nature. But our history with spirituality, our history with religion, with theology, with practice, with doctrine, for eons, has been so weighted in heavy stuff. Weighty, serious, heavy matters. Doctrines based in death and morality and overcoming and sin and salvation and all of this heavy, heavy, heavy stuff. Even today and around the world, all around the world, we have very solemn greetings. Namaste, very serious, namaste. We get into spiritual centers and everybody is so solemn, 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 solemn. Ministers and priests want to talk to us about our sins and our sorrows and have us sort through everything. It's so heavy all the time. This is not to say that there isn't value and authenticity in addressing the serious matters of our world. There are serious things going on. There is heaviness in our world indeed. But living in a deeply serious world with a repressed, jolly spirit has been exhausting. Humanity as a whole is profoundly exhausted because we're not being fueled by this innate excitement, this innate, playful, jovial, jolly love. It's like plugging into the master current in our being, and it is long forgotten. And so in our awakening, we're being called to remember the missing spirit in spirituality. Big, jolly love. Now, I can only ever talk about the things that I've personally experienced. I've never read the Bible or the Vedas. I've never read religious doctrine. I lived in a Buddhist nunnery, but I don't know any Buddhist philosophies. But I get all my information from these embodied direct experiences, and I can tell you in the divine realms, they are not solemnly greeting each other. It's like high-fiving each other at the bar. It's just like so happy and excited to see each other, to know each other, to be in this exciting time of recognition of all that's underway, meeting ever more of our wholeness, meeting ever more of God in this way, in this way, in this way, in this way, in this way. It's so exciting. It's anything but solemn. It's anything but heavy. It's fun. It's so extraordinarily fun. Now, as I say these words, you can feel there's a vibrancy in that energy. Just in the feeling of, we can have fun in life. The second experience I ever had, December 17th, 2000, I found myself walking down this luminous hallway, and it had doors on every side. Bing, 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 door, 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 door. And at the very end, there was a big arched door with a light, just luminous light coming through it. And I knew that's the door I needed to go to. And I ran to that door, and I was about to open the door, and the door just swung open with a big old light being standing there laughing hysterically at me. And then behind him was like 36 other light beings, all laughing hysterically at me. And it was very much like I was late to my own party. And they were like, "Where have you been?" I'm like, "I don't know. I didn't know how to get here. I don't know." The energy of being met like that just blasted me open. Completely, like, it just tore away any kind of restriction in me at all. Completely opened me up. And it was very important for that to happen. Because the reason I was there is we were all getting ready to have this very weighty meeting with a godlike being about the conflict nature of humanity. Nothing very light, nothing very small. But to prepare me for that, to take that in, they opened me wide up. Again and again and again and again in the divine realms, I encountered this fun, this playfulness, this teasing, Archangel Michael joking. I'll tell you about meeting Buddha. I was in a meditation, and an image of Mata Amma, the hugging saint, the beautiful hugging saint, came into my awareness. I acknowledged her, and she went away. And then the image of the Dalai Lama, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, came into my awareness. I acknowledged it, and then I just went right into the Dalai Lama's mind, like whoot, right into his mind. And then there was like a processing, and then I leapt out of his mind and into the previous Dalai Lama, the 13th Dalai Lama. It was like a pop into the 13th. There was a processing, and then I went back to the 12th, and then the 11th, and I went all the way down the line of the Dalai Lamas into the first Dalai Lama. And when I leapt out of the mind of the first Dalai Lama, I leapt into the mind of Buddha sitting under the tree at his first moment of enlightenment. And I was seeing everything that Buddha saw in those first moments before any words were ascribed to the situation. It's impossible to capture everything that was experienced there, but it was reiterating in the experience, once again, how we got stuck in the idea of a fear-based reality, got stuck in this separation consciousness, believing that life is happening to us and not through us. And in the moment, in this exquisite, very lengthy experience, when I realized, okay, I get it, I understand all that I'm experiencing here, Buddha himself appears right before me. And he just has exquisite joy, just piercing through his eyes. And it just made me burst out in tears. And once again, breaking me open so that I could just take all of this in. And he said, "You see, it's fun." It was so simple. It was so simple. I hear this all the time. It's so simple. I say this all the time in my weekly satsangs. It's so simple. Again and again and again and again. Papaji, teasing with a lesson. Light beings, teasing before some big profound thing is coming. again and again and again and again. We are called to reclaim now this missing spirit in our own being, and we're called to do this in our unique way. I mentioned previously in this series that every single one of us are so precious in our uniqueness. Never in the history of humanity, and never again will there be, you. Everything that you bring to all that is, to God. There's no one like you. There's never been anybody like you. There will never be anybody like you. No one has your particular set of experiences and perspectives to offer to God. To say, this is what life is like. This is what we can be aware of and cherish in this way through my life, through my experiences. So our uniqueness is so precious, which is why we're called to be our true, authentic self, not hiding anything, including our playful nature. What feels fun? What feels kind of ornery? What feels opening and joyous, jolly to you? In the way that you serve, in the way that you rake the leaves, in the way that you give a satsang, in the way that you do anything, in the way that you give a greeting. What is your joyous, unique essence coming forward? What is it that's not hidden anymore coming out? The missing spirit in spirituality, that vibrant, big, jolly love. Now, as a reminder, in my guides, that which I channel is an entire stadium of divine presence, divine beings. It is no accident that they appear to me and we gather in the environment of a stadium. What is a stadium but an environment of boisterous, joyful, cheerleading energy of togetherness? Energy of common intention in a very high energy state. This is why I experience them in a stadium. It's why I do all of the work with them in a stadium, because we enter into an environment that opens us and aligns us with our true innate nature. So this is who's going to help us here tonight in our teachings. So we will take a moment here to just let everything that has been spoken here rest in this beautiful field we are sharing tonight. And it is indeed a beautiful field. Let us rest our eyes and take a nice, good, slow, deep breath in, please. And as you breathe out, just feel that breath beginning to soften everything within, to relax and allow a union here. A divine union here. Without any effort. This union happens actually in the absence of any effort. You might feel or imagine everything within sort of just falling open like a flower. Take another good deep breath in, please. And again, just allow that breath so gently, so beautifully to release all our little micro tensions that we've been holding. Begin to allow the energies here to unite so easily, transcending vibrationally any ideas of separation. There is not a me and a you. There is us uniquely in this way and that way and this way and that way. What a blessed moment to be able to share all of this together. Together. Now, we want to focus here on the unveiling of our playful, jolly nature. Use whatever term aligns you most easily within to this joyous, buoyant knowing of ourselves, our joyful, buoyant nature, our essence rising up so easily, so playfully. We come into this world fully knowing our nature, our innocence, our freedom, our playfulness, our vulnerabilities, our curiosities. Oh, we're so excited to be here. And the moment we come into the world, we start getting all of these cues. Uh-oh, this is a pretty tough place. We begin to get messages that we need to guard ourselves, protect ourselves, measure ourselves. We need to watch out. We need to be very careful. We cannot be in our full vulnerability, our full innocence. We know this. Our innocence begins to get shut down, shut down, shut down, shut down. And as a result, what do we know? We know that our world begins to feel heavy. And the moments we begin to finally start coming into self-awareness, where we have an understanding of ourselves as a self in this world, or a perceived self, it feels confusing. It feels out of alignment with what feels normal within. It feels like we're constantly having to navigate. And for most of us, the path has not been a playful path. It has not been one lined with buoyant joy. It has not been one that has been a constant invitation into ever more fun and playfulness and relationship in that way, relationship on that very foundation. On the contrary, it has been quite heavy. In many ways, it has felt quite dark. We wouldn't describe most of our journeys as vibrant. Not until we're fully in the path of awakening. Now, as we're speaking here, as we always do, we are speaking deeply into places that are rarely engaged, rarely invited into the conversation, into the communication, into the places that are forgotten here. It is our intention here to incite this remembrance, this permission, this reconnection to ever more of our wholeness. And this part is a fundamental part that is so ready to step out of the heaviness, to shed the heaviness, and be lifted naturally by this innate energy. The energy itself knows exactly what to do. The energy itself, in its nature, rises. It is buoyant. The energy itself radiates. It is luminous. It is the nature of vibrancy itself. This is our divine being. In everything that we do from the moment that we awaken, what we put our hands upon to do what we call work, the energy upon which our words are spoken, the gaze upon which we have with another in our meeting. Let the jolliness, the jovialness, the fun, the playfulness be here. Be a part of it. Let it rake the leaves. Let it say the prayer. Let it be your greeting. Let it be how it thanks someone. Let it be what consumes the food so lovingly prepared. Let it be that the food itself having such joy in union with our bodies, giving us the sustenance to awaken, not only for ourselves, but for each other, for the collective, and for all of divine presence. Now, we would like to point out that while this vessel said That it is so important that we gather in a stadium. It is a stadium, a high energy. It connotes that jovial sense of togetherness. Yes, indeed. But we also gather in a stadium simply because it is more fun for us. We don't want an office. We want a playground. We love to dance. We love to sing. We love to express. We love to let all of this godness that we are live unabashedly, unabashedly in its joy, in its cherishing the sweet, sweet, sweet cherishing of life, of all that we are. Now imagine in your own life experience all of these various aspects of self that we have tried so valiantly to reject or conquer, overcome, to fix, to heal. All of these aspects, these things that we would traditionally in the old ways call bad. Everything that we label bad in our good trumps bad ideas of our world. Imagine for all of these aspects of us that carry our pain, that carry that heaviness, that carry our most profound longing for deep connection to love. Imagine how incredibly healing it feels to be in the company of joy from within. That the very medium in which we are holding all of these aspects is a joyful love. Every aspect of you in this moment can hear us, can feel the comfort, can feel the relief, can feel finally the sense of resurrection of our truth, of our true essence, our true nature. We will say again, it is so simple. It is so simple. This is a reorientation. And a reorientation out of our heaviness, out of our focus in heaviness, out of a focus in heaviness that has not fostered our innate jovial nature. The reorientation is into our truth, the truth of our nature. And this is the level of consciousness available to us now. We must always remember that the level of consciousness is always evolving, expanding, growing. The level of consciousness we are in today is not the same level of consciousness of 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, when many of the old teachings that were so heavily based in weighty stuff were given, were transmitted, were the way. Our consciousness now is evolving, is pulling us into greater knowing of our big, jolly love. So this is our encouragement of you to incite this again and again, invite this again and again. Let it rise within you again and again to be part and parcel of yourself, your sense of awareness, your divine being here in the here and now. It is so simple. Make the invitation. Watch the energy that happens as that invitation is accepted. Everything that we do in this very moment, anytime we amplify the field in particular in the intention of healing in a world at peace, an intention of love and service, anytime we do this, this is our contribution to the collective. to the collective of humanity that you know, you can look out at our world and see is so very heavy, weighted in very serious things. Imagine how healing a contribution of big jolly love is in our world. It is so simple. It is so simple. It has been a great joy, a great, great joy to be with you in this energy, in this knowing and remembrance this evening. We thank you for this time and for this love. Let us take a moment to simply feel the energy of our field here, what we have amplified, what we are sitting within, all that is here as us in this moment. Let us take it all in. Let's take a nice, good, deep breath in. Breathe it all in. And just feel all of this soaking into our bones. Letting the very depths of our being be nourished by this. Be incited by this, excited by this. Let us take another good deep breath in, please. And use this breath now to begin to bring your focus back into the body, back into being fully present here in this room, in this beautiful space of love. Let us ground ourselves here in our body. We can touch our fingers to our thumbs. Let's do a nice stretch. And we can bring our awareness back here now. It's an important thing to remember that this I that believes it is separate from our source is not the one to do awakening. It is not the one to go seeking our joyful nature. It is the one to allow it. It is the one to yield and to be taken care of by this energy, this our innate divine energy. The energy itself knows exactly what it's doing. We can be the embodied, chronic invitation to this union, to this path of ease. You all know how joy feels. It feels very easy. When we're in that exquisite state of joy, we're in a moment of adoration for a puppy, a baby, our guru. It's so easy. It just pours forth. The energy itself knows how to flow. So this is our invitation to be that chronic allowance, that yielding, that yes to union, that yes to our vibrant divine being. My head is very dizzy. I can always tell when there's been like a kind of a yeehaw feeling in consensus when they get so excited, because it takes a little bit for the energy to sort of settle down in me. So everybody's had a good time inside here. We have a few minutes if anyone would like to ask any questions this evening. Now, I should mention that in the workshops, there's a bit of preface comments, and then there's a long session with consensus, a lot of work that we do with consensus, and then the last 30 minutes is Q&A. So there's a lot of availability to be in the presence of consensus and myself and just ask questions about the teaching or my own journey or how things apply to you or that sort of stuff. But while we have a few minutes, is that okay? We do? Yes? Good. So I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any. No questions? Okay, good.
Namaste.
Namaste, namaste.
So indeed, to be in the light is inspiring, elevating, soul steering, opening up, everything, all the masks, all the defense walls, everything falls apart. But and your experience was a spontaneous one. There was no like path or something. It just happened
Yes,
spontaneously.
study, yes, exactly.
So, but a person say, okay, beam me up, Scotty, I'm ready. Beam me up.
Yes.
But nothing happens, I'm stuck here. So, and I cannot say that I'm happy, happy, joy, joy, because I feel the heaviness. It is
Yes,
there.
yes,
I really want it to be lifted up, but it doesn't. So what do you tell a person
Yes.
that he
Beautiful.
want to, take it off. I want to open up, but still there is no, the divine experience, it's not there available for me to feel protected, to feel love, to feel the elevation, to feel the stadium. I feel in my small apartment, studio apartment, that I barely can pay the rent for it.
Yes.
And there is no divine being there, maybe some cockroaches. So how on earth,
yes.
like, I'm going to be happy, happy, joy,
Beautiful.
joy?
That's the perfect question. Yes, indeed. That's sort of the ultimate question, isn't it? That's all well and good, but how do I do that, right? Okay, so we can first begin with the aspect of self that feels the no joy is the small I, right? It is the small I trying to do the work to get to joy, which is not the path. But we can, whatever path we're on, all the paths have such beauty and benefit. All the paths. But we can add some joyful steps along the way. We can add the invitation in our meditation for joy, for divine joy, to make itself known here, to be my companion in this moment, to be my companion as I do my work, to be my companion as I'm having my morning, not coffee, tea here, decaf tea. We can invite and then we allow. There are two aspects to this. There is the invitation and then there is the allowance. Oftentimes what we do is we ask and then we're just pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing on the door that says pull. Because we're waiting, we're looking, we're doing all the work, and we're not allowing. We are not the ones doing it, we are the ones inviting it. We are the ones saying, I am so willing, I am so available. And the goal here through consensus in our teaching tonight is the remembrance that this is actually a very important aspect to add. It is the forgotten spirit in spirituality. It is the key thing that's missing in doctrine and in practice. So when we know this, when we remember this, we can just be mindful about the invitation to invite that joy in, to allow it in. And as we do this, all the things that feel so hard begin to feel that connection, that caretaking. that caretaking, that caretaking. And I will say, you said that all of these things that, are so hard, they begin to dissolve. Um, they do begin to dissolve, but remember what they're dissolving into is love. And that love itself is joyful. The field itself begins to change as those things begin to fall away. And what they're bringing, what they're inciting simply in their transformation is ever more joy. It is a process for most people. But I will say we are in a time of grand acceleration. I can tell you from my own work, in my own community, and the thousands of people that I've worked with, there's been this huge acceleration of people that were on the path for years and years and years and years and years, and suddenly, oh boy, things are happening and happening, and then they're more happening and more happening. My members of my community are here, and they can attest to the people that we know personally that have had profound, extraordinary experiences, and they'd never had anything like that before. The time here in the collective is that all of this is more and more and more available to us because ever more of this energy is coming in. When they said we amplify the field and this is our contribution to the collective, yes, this is happening all around the world. This kind of energy is being contributed more and more and opening up more and more in the collective, and we are benefiting from that. So we are more available to it, and it is more available to us now. So we make the invitation and then we allow. Yes? Good. I want to address a few comments from last night's beautiful gathering. It's been really a lot of fun to hear everybody's responses to last night. Many of you just so excited about the permission that was granted and feeling things that you remembered that had been forgotten and all of these beautiful, beautiful things. I really appreciate people commenting on that. But I have some other things that came up that really, really great questions that I want to take a moment to answer. First, I want to follow up to Swamiji's question last night, which was so great, about just sort of, the average guy that's like dealing with stuff and he's got bills to pay and he doesn't have time to sort of work at finding that big jolly love. He's got big things to do. I want to address something in the way that the question was framed, that it came to me later. You said in your question that I'm a person who came into all of this stuff just spontaneously, and other people have to work at it and study at it and study at it. While that's true, I did come into these experiences spontaneously. I did not have a studied path or a theological path. I just came into the experience of those things. I did not come into the application of them and the living of them in my life, the integration of them and how to walk the life of those lessons. That piece had to come very slowly, very methodically, very, very, very tediously. And prior to being able to understand everything, really, really understand it, it took me 10 years of profound confusion and ultimately a suicide attempt because I just could not function. My normal life fell apart and I didn't understand how to live in this world with all of these metaphysical things that kept happening, and my normalcy was gone. So I say that to just say I understand how challenging it can be. I understand how at times devastating this kind of journey can be. And all of the things that I share in terms of the wisdom and the application of these things come from my lived experience. From ultimately and surviving that suicide attempt and then just surrendering trying to be normal. I just quit trying to be normal. I quit trying to figure it out and fix it and make a plan. And as soon as I quit all of that, then the mystical journey just unfolded on its own. And everything shifted just immediately. Within 6 months of that suicide attempt, after 10 years of profound confusion, I was perfectly fine. And that's the state I was in when I was invited to India and ended up living in a Buddhist nunnery in the Himalayas for 7 years. So, I tell you all of that to say that I understand that this is a methodical process, But I also know that everything that I'm conveying to you, I'm doing it from a state of knowing how to accelerate the process. So it doesn't have to be so arduous. So it doesn't have to be so heavy and so weighty. That's exactly why we're doing the program in the way that we're doing. Coming out of the heaviness and into the vibrancy of being. I know how this works. I know how it goes. I've lived it. And I work with people every day. I've worked with thousands of people around the world who've been on the very steady, studied path. And they're now able to very, very quickly, through this alchemical process, really reorient themselves into their greater potential. So I just wanted to clarify that. Now, in some of your wonderful questions that you've asked me about last night, I really want to acknowledge the people that are doubtful. I want to acknowledge the skeptics who say, well, that's all nice and good that we should be playful and our big jolly love, but you know what? That's not really realistic. We live in a heavy world. Somebody said to me today, you know, heaviness is just normal. No, it's not. Heaviness has been standardized, but it's not normal, and most of all, it's not natural. That is not our natural state. It is what we have been conditioned into through the human experience. And in this conversation, the conversation included, well, you know, we live in a world of polarities. Well, that's one way to look at it, but that's a separation consciousness definition. That's a way to look at things. From the divine perspective, we live in a world of continuums. So that the continuum, anything, any kind of experience is the absolute, perfected, blissful, divine perspective, and the very, very heavy, weighty, dense separation consciousness perspective. And somewhere along the line in these continuums, we can see things as opposites. But they're just existing in continuums. One on the heavier end is one in blindness that cannot see or experience, or in most cases even fathom, the divine perspective. But from the divine perspective, it sees everything along the continuum from a very different perspective. It sees it all as divine, it sees it all as important and informative, it sees it all as precious, and most of all, it sees it all as God. Just different iterations of God, different levels of consciousness or awareness throughout this. And it's not just linear. That too is a separation consciousness ideology. We don't exist truly in linearity. This is multidimensional continuums. So everything is possible. But in our heavy weighted focus, we believe that we live in these very sharp extremes. So this is just a reminder that that's a perspective. That's just as a perspective that we are focused and intending from when we get into that. Now let's see. Someone asked a beautiful question. If you are raised in a culture or a family or environment in which you are not permitted to be playful, that a joyful thing is considered wasteful and frivolous and that sort of stuff, then how do you learn to be joyful and playful? You don't. You don't need to learn it. You already are joyful and playful. That's your nature. That's your divine essence, is already joyful and playful. That's the source giving you a life experience itself. That's part of its nature. The course here is learning to release all of the blocks to that. All of the things that make us forget all of that. So the course is not about learning to be joyful. It's about really uncovering everything so that we may experience that playful, joyful nature. And one of the ways that we can do that so simply, so very, very easily, is just make every little decision, every little choice, make it in contentment. Does this bring me joy? Does the keychain that I'm about to buy, does that really bring me joy? This t-shirt that I'm going to wear today, does this bring me joy? The path that I'm going to take to go get decaf tea, Is that going to bring me joy? You see, every little moment in the day, if we have an intention to make this decision, make this choice, we've got all kinds of choices that we can choose. And most of the time, we're on autopilot. We're not choosing intentionally in joy or contentment. We're choosing in our old habits. But what we do when we make these little choices out of contentment is that we're reminding ourselves. We're opening up these channels to remember, oh, this feels really easy. This feels really good. And the more we do that again and again and again and again, we're just unlocking things that have been locked, that have been tight. We're just opening these things up. We don't have to have these grand gestures. You can start small. And then the energy itself that we are opening up will continue that mobilization and that acceleration from within. I've said this many, many times in my time here. The energy itself knows exactly what to do. We don't have to strategize about it. We just open up and allow it again and again and again. So this is a very, very simple way to do that. Very good. Okay, thank you so much for this union this evening. It is such a pleasure, such a gift, such an honor to do this with you and to be welcomed here. And our time together will be of benefit to all beings. Namaste, namaste.